I sat down with the Prime Minister a week before Christmas. Here's our conversation. Prime Minister, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
It's always a pleasure, Mercedes.
How are you doing?
But that's the question we're always asking each other.
People are being very clear that they don't like you.
Those young people, 8 years later, are having trouble paying their rent, worried about their future in ways that are just as tangible, if not more, because of the global context we're in. And I didn't make a promise that I was going to make things better for them and then walk away after 4 years or even after 8 years. I said I'd be there to fight for them every single day.
Even if
That's
they
what
don't
I'm
want
doing
you
now.
there.
Listen, there'll be an election eventually in which people get to make that choice. But I am not giving up.
You think that you bear some responsibility?
We've seen some fraud and some sketchy practices there.
So I go back to the question of, do you bear some responsibility here?
Well, of course, we all bear responsibility. This is a challenge that we have to work on all together. But
when you look at the national security picture for the country, what do you see?
Continued challenges with Russia and their violation of the UN Charter and the international rules-based order.
Your polls would indicate that you're not heading for a better year. 7 out of 10 Canadians want you to step down. There was a recent poll saying that Chrystia Freeland and Mark Carney were both more popular choices than you to lead the Liberal Party. Why do you think Canadians are so frustrated with you?
Well, I think, first of all, it's a really frustrating time, full stop.
And there's been a lot of struggle in every Canadian city, every Canadian province to try to find affordable housing. One of the issues which your government has recognized is that there's more people than there is housing necessary. I just want to go back to immigration, though, because that is a federal responsibility. Mm-hmm. And you were clearly articulating when I looked at the interviews from you last year that you knew housing was a problem. Yet it took until the last month or so for you to act.
Canada has continued to step up as a member of NATO, as an international partner, whether with our Indo-Pacific strategy or things like investing in vaccine facilities in South Africa, or being part of significant investments across Eastern Europe in nuclear plants and things like that. Canada is a very engaged international partner, and countries around the world continue to look to us as one of those countries that's always going to stand up and defend the rules.
You've been in power for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
You said you'd never buy the F-35s, which was part of the delay there, and your own chief of the defense staff is saying that if there were to be a war tomorrow, Canada would be in big trouble. Yeah. Isn't that on you after 8 years in power?
Everyone is in big trouble because we have been shipping, all of us as allies, as NATO allies, shipping massive amounts of ammunition to Ukraine right now because Ukraine is on the front line of defending not just their own territory, but their international rules-based order.
Why is it that we are subject to so many simultaneous significant national security threats?
Canada is one of the countries in the world with the largest diasporas from all those countries you mentioned. We are an incredibly diverse country where we've made those differences into an incredible source of strength.
Do you think the police should do something about that?
I think the police need to make sure that they are arresting people who are engaged in acts of violence and who are breaking the law, whether it's a sound ordinance or trespassing. These are things that we do have to take seriously. But the one person who then gets encouraged or incited to break a window or attack someone or pull someone's clothing off or go at them, that's something we all have a responsibility to be thoughtful about and to remember who we are as Canadians. We are the country in the world that does diversity better than just about anyone else.
Prime Minister, I know that you have a lot to do. We appreciate you sitting down with us and answering questions for Canadians.
Yeah, there's a lot of frustration.